Hello, my name is Joseph Pirayou. I want to welcome you to today's program on in the beginning, Ashur. As most of you may know, today is August 7th, and pretty much all around the world, the Ashuri people commemorate this day as the Assyrian Martyrs Day. This way, it's good? All right, sorry. Uh, commemorate the uh, Ashuri Martyrs Day, the day that to be remembered for our people being killed uh, for who they are. And it's just not one date. August 7th, thank you. This is was shared by my dear friend, my Ashuri brother, Ashur Mansur. I asked him for permission to share that. These are the few of the dates that we have here. Uh, uh, Mind-boggling, it hasn't stopped. And today I will go over like three different areas that because if you want to talk about all of these, we just would have program for like years just to cover what our enemies have done to us, and they are still doing it until now. So there are three parts today. I would like to share that three different areas, three different times, what has been done to us as a nation. The first part I'm going to read is from the Assyrian tragedy. This book was written by uh, Mar Shimun, who was assassinated here in San Jose, a few blocks from where I live right now. And he's talking, he's writing about so many things. I will read just from the portion that talks about the Simele massacre. Uh, this is like ongoing situation because 1933, the massacre of Simele just didn't happen. It was because of what happened prior to that during World War One, that our people, fought against the Turks and the Kurds, and the British, the English, that they betrayed us. We were supposed to have our land. We were supposed to have a place to settle and be protected. That didn't happen. So the uh, uh, the new government of Iraq, newly established country or nation of Iraq, in 1932, I believe October, and they just wanted our people out. They just wanted to, and the English that promised us that we will have our land back, they told us, hey, go back to, wherever that the nation of Iraq is, assimilate, learn their culture, religion, just shut the hell up. Well, you did what you did to us. Thank you, but we're not going to give you what we promised to give you. Anyway, I didn't want to go that way, but the three parts I'm going to be mentioning is one, that the actual date that was settled for August 7th to be the day of remembrance of our martyrs is based on what happened at the area called Simele. So there's a chapter 8 that talks about the massacre. Before that, August 4th and 5th. So the massacre started August 7th. That's why we have August 7th as our day of Martyrs Day. So August 4th and 5th, we have our Ashuri people that they want to get rid of. So they're going from Iraq by the Khabur River towards Syria, and the Iraqi government attacks them and they defend themselves. And the Iraqi army, which is like 20 to 1 number wise, they couldn't do what they wanted to kill all the Assyrians, Ashuri, and they retreat. And on their way back, they go through that. Can we show the map of Simele area? So we have a like The area that is like more like a dark pink, that's the Simele, the village and the surrounding villages. As you can see, it's close to the border with Turkey and Syria, and it's very close to the Tigris River, north of Mosul or Nineveh of past. So when the Iraqi army is retreating, this is where I'm taking this as late Patriarch Mar Shimun writes. He says, under pretext of giving police protection to Assyrians, the inhabitants of 11 villages in the vicinity of Simele, the larger Assyrian village whose police post was beforehand reinforced, were summoned to the latter place for shelter from the tribesmen government had armed. Men, women, and children hurried to the place of protection. After assuring them of the good intentions of the government, they were disarmed by the police authorities under instructions of whatever this guy names is, Makisha, whatever, Abdul. The inoffensive population was indiscriminately massacred, men, women, and children alike, with rifle, revolver, and machine gun fire. In one room alone, 81 men from the Baz tribe who had taken shelter with the named Goril were barbarously massacred. Priests were tortured and their bodies mutilated. Those who showed their Iraqi nationality papers, because they told our people, you have to take these papers to show that you are, that you are honoring being part of the Iraqi government. So those who had those Iraqi national papers were the first to be shot. Trust the enemy. Girls were raped and women violated and made to march naked before the Arab army commander. Holy books were used as fuel for burning girls. Children were run over by military cars. Pregnant women were bayoneted. Children were flung in the air and pierced on the points of bayonets. Those who survived in the other villages were now exposed day and night to constant raids and acts of violence. Forced conversion to Islam of men and women was the next process. The refusal was met with death. It talks about 65 out of 95 Assyrian villages and settlements were either sacked, destroyed, or burned to ground. Even settlements which existed from the year 1921 had no connection in any way with the trouble were wrecked and all property looted by Iraq army and tribesmen. Then the Iraqi government says, there were some Kurds and some, by themselves. It wasn't an arranged attack to do this, but the British, they didn't do any help. It says the only thing was that from the Royal Air Force, that their aerodromes, the Assyrians were and are still guarding. All they did was to take some photos. We have this photo here. I don't know what it shows. It's just something looks like being bombed and destroyed. But it's just what they did to our people. This is 1933, August 7th. Actually, from what I was reading here, August 11th was the first. It says the wholesale massacre was officially inaugurated on the 11th of August. So that one is about, as you saw, so many dates. Today is a day of remembrance. of what has been done to our people during different years, decades, 1800s, 1900s, 2000. Anyway, where was I? I'm a little bit upset. Sorry about that. I've read these before, but today is just getting to me a little bit more than usual. Anyway, this one goes to February 1918. This is about the assassination of Mar Shimun, the patriarch of the Church of the East, which was at that time. So the Turkish government, the Ottoman Empire, they're trying to see how they can get rid of the patriarch, and they find that the best thing is that the government adopted other and more thoroughly Oriental methods and took to assassination. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading from this book, Our Smallest Ally, a brief account of the Assyrian nation in the Great War by Dr. Reverend W.A. Wigram, D.D. This was published 1920. So here in the North Iraq, now we are in Northwest Iran. So the government takes on assassination. So what happens is that they find somebody. There is some government official. He says that he was already in communication with Simko Aga, Sa'aka, Simko son, and now sent a signed letter to that chief telling him plainly that if only he could remove Mar Shimun, the Persian government would esteem it good service done. They found Simko not averse to profiting by the hint, now that it was clear to his mind which side was going to be victor in the war. He sent a letter to Mar Shimun, who was then residing in Salamis, this is northwest Iran, suggesting that they should meet at a certain village in that district, of course, under full safe conduct, for they were already sworn allies and discussed the new situation caused by the Russian debacle. It seemed the obvious thing to do, and the patriarch accordingly agreed to meet with Simko at the village of Koni Shah, and he drove with his brother David and several other friends to that rendezvous. This is February 25th, 1918. There were some warnings that danger was in the air, such as an Armenian who was in an American employ as a relief agent was resident in the village and was told by a Kurd, "There is no danger for your folk." He sent off his son with a verbal message of warning at once, but this was unhappily disregarded. As Mar Shimun entered the house for the conference, his brother pointed out to him a group of armed Kurds on the roof, with a question as to what those fellows wanted. But the patriarch brushed the matter aside, saying they have just gone up to see things from there, and went into the house. Simko was most cordial at the conference. The usual ceremonial hospitality was given. The utmost respect was shown to the religious head of Kurdistan, and an agreement and alliance between Assyrians and Kurds reached on all points discussed. At last, the business was done. Simko, courteous host to the last, conducted his guest to his carriage, kissed his hand, Judas-like, in courtesy, and turned back into the house. That act was the signal. Next instant, there was one shot, and then a volley from the men previously posted on the roof. And the patriarch lay dead in his carriage, a victim to his trust and the honor of a Kurd. Dr. Wigram is saying this. The patriarch lay dead in his carriage, a victim to his trust in the honor of a Kurd. It had been intended to massacre the whole party, and how the scheme miscarried is not known. The fact remains that Mar Shimun was the only important victim, though several of his following were killed. And how the Kurds failed to secure the life of his brother David is a mystery to this day. Somehow he found refuge in the house of an Armenian who sheltered him during the search, made for him that night, and showed him a way out of the town in the morning. The patriarch's body was treated with gross indignity, being set up for mockery in a sham divan, stripped and flung out into the streets. But it was at last taken up by the Armenians of the place, and they, under the leadership of their priest, gave it honorable burial in their own church, where it lies to this day. I'm covering different times that our people, either as a whole being massacred or individually, targeting a great leader in our nation. One was done Simele in North Iraq. This other one was in Northwest Iran. The book that I'm going to be reading from, and I try not to go too deep into that, because there's so much here that is written that really, the book is called Massacres, Resistance, and Protectors, Muslim-Christian Relations in Eastern Anatolia during World War I. But in this book, it's not just what they call it, Eastern Anatolia. It talks about what happened, what they call it, with the area in northern Iraq, the tribes in the Hakkari Mountains, and in the Urmi Northwest region. So this part here that trying to remember, couldn't find it specifically, but it talks about this certain gentleman. His name was Hani Safa. And so let me just read what it says. Tragically, the authorities, these are the Ottoman authorities, succeeded in dividing the Christians between themselves so that suppression could proceed through a technique of divide and conquer. Initially, all of the Christian faiths experienced the same rising specter of persecution and put age-old quarrels aside. Immediately, they swore unity on the Bible. I have a Bible here. So they took this book, Bible, these all different Christian denominations in Media. This is in today's Turkey, Ottoman Empire. All of the Christian faiths experienced the same rising specter of persecution. So they didn't discriminate when time came to kill him, and put age-old quarrels aside, and in the city of Media, they swore unity on the Bible. Solidarity between them proved fragile, at least in the larger towns, as some groups, in their terrified panic, accepted any promise at face value, no matter how hollow it could seem to a more sober observer. At times, it was said that the target was only the Armenians, not any of the other denominations. At other times, it was said that the targets were only those who had contacts with the enemy. For instance, the Armenians with the Russians, the Catholics and Protestants with the French, the so-called Farangiye. Farangiye is Farsi, that means foreigners, Prangiye. This ignited deep-seated mistrust between the rival Christian faiths. Sometimes the populace would be told that only the rich and influential families were being sought, not the ordinary people. Thus, class hatred could also be set in motion. Sometimes the technique of dividing the Christians did not work, chiefly because of the stubbornness and inbred suspicion of the rural villagers. So there is this place called Azakh, and they said, you know what, we're not going to follow for that scheme that you guys are doing to us. The part here about what happened in Torabdin, in Azov, there are the two stories, two cities that have two different stories. And what happened in Torabdin is that when these people came, the what's his name, Hanis Safar, being part of the what they call it, being part of the Syriac Orthodox, they promised him that he would be safe. So he gave up the other denominations, and they took him out group by group. They told him, we are moving you to a different area. And while they were leaving, they beat him. They didn't want to even use bullets. They just beat him up to death. They said they're not worth. Or they would line 4 or 5 people in a row, and the bullets that they have, the rifles, they would shoot one bullet to kill 4, 5, 6 people. And in one of these situations, they took these people out. They put their bags or baggage or whatever. They treated our men and women as donkeys, as mules, to carry their whatever that they had to carry. After they reach their destination, they said, we go to this valley. They go over there in front of the men. They violate the women. They do whatever they want to do in front of the men. Then they kill the men in front of the women, and they kill the women later. The worst part, I don't know if it's the worst part, but adding insult to injury, they lay down the women on their backs, naked, legs spread open, and the men naked on their back with their butt up. Like, this is what we did to your men, and this is what we did to your women. Anyway, August 7th, day of the martyr. As you saw in that flyer that my brother Ashur had shared, different dates, and we see some dates that are recent, 2000s. This is ongoing persecution of our people, different ways, different places. Of the recent one, can we show the photo of Shimuni? Did I say her name right? Yeah, yeah. You know what was her guilt? Her son is a priest. What happened to her? They kidnapped her and her husband. I don't remember how long ago it was, like a couple of years back, I believe, maybe more. Time goes so fast. And they're happening so many times that you lose track of time. They found her body. Husband, nobody knows where he is. Another one. Can we show the photo of Gabriel? Yoria? This is Yoria Dekron. He was assassinated. He was assassinated. 94, 93-year-old gentleman helping his people in Turkey to reclaim their land that was stolen. Just what's going on, right? I mean, the massacres were what? Sorry, I'm checking for a comment I want to share with you. 1933, 91 years ago. 1914, over 110 years ago. It hasn't stopped. Maybe it's not on a whole scale, not tens of thousands or hundreds. World War I, we lost 2/3 of our people. We're still here, but they're still doing that. What was Gabriel fault? What was his fault? What did he do wrong? Did he took arms against the Turks? Did he give speeches to go against the government of Turkey? He helped his fellow brothers and sisters. 93, 4-year-old. They shoot him in the head. Then can we show the photo of that sister, nun? So my Ashuri sister, Atia Gemri from Holland, she shared some photos, and these are the ones that she had shared on her Facebook, and I'm sharing with you. This is Sister Cecilia Mushe Hanna of the Chaldean denomination. She was beheaded August 15, 2002, in the monastery of the Sacred Heart of Jesus in Baghdad by three armed Muslim assailants. Her murder was the beginning of countless attacks on the Assyrians in Iraq. Atya is writing this for me. What did she do? Chaldean Church. Then we have one of the, I think, you can't point like this is the worst or this is the worst. Atia, when she shared the photos, she had shared like 4 or 5 photos. One of them being this. I'm sorry, I'm showing it to you this way, but this was one of the photos she shared. And what I'm not talking about this part, like Zoa or politics, because politicians are different. You get involved in politics in the Middle East, it's tough. I'm not saying it was okay for them to kill all the people that we had in these organizations or political groups, but Shimoni, Gabriel, Sister Cecilia, what have they done? These are just regular people. And the one that really gets to me is, can we show this last one? I mean, the three, it kills me. I don't want to show you the ones that they have these photos with the orange suit on and the gun behind their head and they're getting shot. These are in Khabur. This is like what, 8, 9 years ago? 10 years ago? I don't know. Time flies so fast. And they keep doing and they keep doing and they keep doing. Divide and conquer using denominations as it says in these books. I'm reading, I'm learning. We learn from history. I hope we do. So sad, so tough, yet we're still here. You remember these days, all these books we share, especially with our younger generation, not to forget, not to let it happen. It will happen as long as we're not united, and we will be. There is a time coming. We are learning. The youth that we are having growing up in these different countries, they're learning about their heritage. They're learning about who they are, and they are loving the history of the people. You might think I'm a dreamer, but I believe, as it said in the flyer, let me read that flyer to you before we finish the program. This is when we were doing the, what they call it, we wanted to set up for the flyer to make announcement. This is from, no, I'm just reading that. Don't worry about the photos. This is from the flyer. I want to share to my brothers and sisters. This is from Bible, the Jewish. Oh, thanks. Complete Jewish Bible. That's the only Bible in English language that calls us Ashur. Isaiah 19, 23, 20, 24, 25. On that day, Israel will be a third partner with Egypt and Ashur. A blessing here on earth. We are a blessing here on earth on that day. I don't know when it is, but we are. That's why they want to get rid of us. They can't. For Adonai Tzau has blessed him. Blessed be Egypt, my people, Ashur, the work of my hands, and Israel, my heritage. We are still here, we will be here, and we will prevail. In the name of the Almighty, Alam Anech, our our I don't want to say dead, but ala manach are gone people. They pay the price. We will not forget. Until then, I want to say goodbye. Thank you very much.